pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Barnum.
Here.
Councilman Perdicone.
Here.
Councilman Seeley. Here. Councilwoman Scrobach. Supervisor Bello.
Here.
And attorney for the town.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. So for the first order of business today, we have a number of recognitions that I want to do tonight, and so I'm going to ask to start that the town board please join me down on the floor, and if our guests from the hallway could file in here for a few minutes. Thank you. I kind of have to do this podium backwards tonight, so. Okay, the first order of business tonight is we're going to pay tribute to some special people who are with us tonight and did some things on behalf of the Irondequoit community. Every day, firefighters put their lives on the line to save people and property, and many of these firefighters are volunteers. So tonight, we wanted to, as a community, pay them by showing our appreciation, thanking them for the valuable service they provide, and letting them know that we are very aware of the significant positive impact they have on our community. Firefighters, whether paid or not, make an incredible difference in our lives, and there are things that we can do to make a difference in theirs. When you see a firefighter in uniform, walk up, say thank you. Thank them for keeping you and our community and Irondequoit safe. Get out of the way. Pull your car over to the right when you see or hear a siren or see a fire truck with its lights on. You can organize your friends, coworkers, neighborhood, or child's class to create and deliver a thank you card to your local fire station. Donate to firefighter benefits and causes. And minimize your risk of fires. Install smoke detectors. Keep a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. Don't overload power plugs. Clear brush from around your house. And do not haphazardly flick cigarette butts. We have nothing but first-rate first responders serving the town of Irondequoit, from fire to police to medical service personnel, who put their own lives and safety on the line every day. And tonight, we want to recognize a few individuals who demonstrated acts of selflessness at a recent incident. On Wednesday, August 6th, the St. Paul, Ridge Culver, and Point Pleasant fire departments responded to a house fire on Simpson Road. The call came in at 5:59 a.m., and the fire departments arrived by 6:03. The response time was nothing short of amazing. But as the fire crews were on their way, reports were coming in that there were still people inside the house. And before I continue, I do want to call the chief of the St. Paul Fire Department, Bill Durland, to come forward and join me. And we're going to recognize, I want him to join me as we recognize an individual who did arrive at the scene. An author once said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear." And that best sums up the actions taken by former chief of the St. Paul Fire Department and former town councilman, Jim Turner. Having heard the call on his home fire radio and living only a few blocks away, Jim took immediate action and arrived at the scene within seconds. When he arrived, he was immediately notified that there was an individual still trapped in the burning house. Wearing only the street clothes he put on that morning, Jim entered the home. Inside, Jim located the victim and proceeded to pull him towards the door he had entered. Needing to raise up on his knees in order to pull the individual out, Jim was exposed to copious amounts of smoke and became overcome. His next memory was of hearing the sounds of fire engines and of someone grabbing him and pulling him to the driveway. And for these heroic acts, Jim deserves to be recognized, and I'm proud to present Jim Turner with a commendation, and please ask him to come forward and join us. And this award is presented to James Turner for your courageous service to others, not sparing yourself for the sake of a stranger. The town is honored to recognize the efforts and dedication you displayed in the fire rescue 2 weeks ago in the town of Irondequoit. And you deserve our thanks and
Jim probably really doesn't want to be here this evening. He made it out to be no big deal. Really, it wasn't a big deal, but he did a good job. You know, as chief, though, I do have to remind all our first responders, you know, we train today to go in with SCBAs on and take care of ourselves. We train that we're the most important person. You know, we take care of ourselves, and we do want to help everyone else. But Jim grew up at a time when SCBAs were optional when he came in the department, and he just went with instinct, and he made a judgment call, and hopefully with his actions, you know, he did give the homeowner a few extra days of life. I heard he was talking at the hospital, so hopefully he was able to say goodbye to his family rather than burning to death, you know, in his living room. So very good job.
And for the next two awards, I would ask for Chief Zapatori from the Culver Ridge Fire Department to join us as well. And because, as you know, the story that I just told and what Mr. Turner went through could not have ended where I just left off. Having heard the call on their radios, Lieutenant David Kasanoff from the St. Paul Fire District and firefighter Michael Napoli from the Ridge Culver Fire Department arrived at the scene within minutes, shortly after Mr. Turner had entered the building. David and Mike entered the building absent any breathing apparatus and quickly found the feet and started to pull. Not knowing who the first individual was, they pulled out their colleague, Jim Turner, to safety. They immediately went back into the building to save the other individual, fighting smoke that banked to within 12 inches of the ground, if you can imagine how hot and what those conditions must have been like. Tragically, the individual who was rescued has since passed away, but the heroic efforts and selflessness exemplified by these two individuals deserves our recognition. David Kasanoff could not have been here with us tonight, but Michael Napoli is, and I'd like to call him forward to be recognized. And Michael, in appreciation for your courageous service to others and dedication to the community, the town is honored to recognize the efforts and dedication you displayed in the fire rescue in the town of Irondequoit. Congratulations. And I'm going to give the chief, David Kasanoff's recognition on his behalf. Okay. And then, anybody want to say anything else?
Yeah, David's kind of shy too, but he does have an excuse. He's in Albany at the FASNY convention, which is a fire department convention. He's taking some training and having some refreshments. So.
Great, thank you. And then I also want to recognize and thank the other first responders who had helped to manage this fire. In addition to the St. Paul and Culver Ridge fire crews, the Point Pleasant Fire Department also acted without haste and admirably on the scene. And I want to recognize and offer our thanks and gratitude to Chief John Colati and Jeff Champion and all the members of the Point Pleasant Fire District who are with us tonight. If you could please raise your hand and be recognized as well. We have nothing, like I said, nothing but the finest first responders who are serving the town of Irondequoit. And they all work well together. The fact that there were not one fire department responded to the scene, St. Paul Fire Department, the Ridge Culver Fire Department, the Point Pleasant Fire Department, all responded. They all acted with bravery, selflessness, and and did just an extraordinary job, and we should all be proud of all of the work that they do on behalf of the residents. I also want to just thank, on behalf of the town of Arundecoit, the work performed by the Laurelton Fire Department and the Seabreeze Fire Department. We have nothing, like I said, but the finest, but they all work, all 5 of our fire districts work together. They respond, they cover for each other, and they make sure that we are protected day and night, 24/7. And when I said earlier, the response time to this fire was incredible. It blew my mind that that's what we have. But that's what we have when we have these fire districts, and we have these first responders who are from our community, live in our community, and care about their neighbors. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the town board and recognize all the good work that you're doing. So thank you. Okay, and so for the next presentations, I'd like to call forward the Chief of the Arundecoit Police Department, Chief Richard Tantello.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. We have a wonderful opportunity where this evening we're going to be swearing in our 3 newest police officers, which are a fine addition to the Arundecoit Police Department. We decided to do this in alphabetical order, so there's no preferential treatment offered. And if I can have Jamie Kuhn come forward along with her family, please. As many as you'd like. Please come forward. Don't be shy.
Everybody come on up. Family.
This is a family event.
Everybody come
Oh,
up.
you're the family photographer. You have your own photographer. That's good. Before we begin, if I may, just before we begin, Officer Jamie Kuhn is a graduate of the Arundecoit High School and also a graduate of Monroe Community College with a degree from criminal justice. She's recently graduated from the Monroe County Public Safety Training Facility for the Police Academy, and we're proud to say that she was a platoon sergeant in that particular program. She's recently completed her FTO field training program. She is assigned to the 1st Platoon and works from 9:45 p.m. until 5:45 a.m., and she was hired as a result of a vacancy from our department due to retirement in 2013. Mr. Supervisor.
Officer Kuhn, if you could raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible, and repeat after me. I, Jamie Kuhn,
I, Jamie Kuhn,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New York.
and the state of New York.
I will enforce all of the laws of the state of New York and the town of Arundecoit.
I will enforce all the laws of the state of New York and the town of Arundecoit.
I will fulfill the duties of the rank of police officer
I will fulfill the duties of the rank of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I will obey all orders, rules, and regulations
I will obey all orders, rules, and regulations
of the Arundecoit Police Department.
of the Arundecoit Police Department.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I will serve,
I will serve,
protect, and guide
protect, and guide
the citizens of the town of Arundecoit.
the citizens of the town of Arundecoit.
Congratulations.
I'd like to say thank you to Chief Tantillo, say thank you to the Supervisor Bello and the town board. I like to thank my family and friends for their support. I look forward to being a part of this department and serving the community that I grew up in.
Our next officer will be Officer James Friscotti. If James comes forward along with his family, please. Officer Friscotti has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Medaille College. He was a team captain of his college soccer team, and he is an Arundecoit resident. He graduated from the Rural Police Training Institute for that police academy and previously worked as a police officer in the village of East Rochester. He joined the Arundecoyt Police Department in February of 2004 and completed his FTO program most recently. He is currently assigned to the 3rd Platoon, which works from 1:45 p.m. until 9:45 p.m. Mr. Supervisor?
Raise your right hand. Place your left hand on the Bible. I, James G. Friscotti,
I, James G. Friscotti,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of New York.
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States and the town of Arundecoyt.
Okay. I will enforce all of the laws of the state of New York and the town of Arundecoyt.
I will enforce all laws of the state of New York and the town of Arundecoyt.
I will fulfill the duties of rank of police officer
I will fulfill the duties of rank of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I will obey all orders, rules, and
I
regulations
will obey all orders, rules, and regulations
of the Arundecoyt Police Department.
of the Arundecoyt Police Department.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I will serve,
I will serve,
protect, and guide
protect, and guide
the citizens of the town of
the
Arundecoyt.
citizens of the town of Arundecoyt.
Congratulations.
Ever since I was young, I wanted to be a police officer. My father was an investigator here in Arundecoyt. I was always happy watching him go to work every day. My dream was to work here. I'd like to thank the town board, supervisor, and chief of police for giving me the opportunity to fulfill my dream. To thank my family, my girlfriend, my grandma, sister, and her boyfriend for coming out. Thank you.
And our third candidate tonight is Christopher Soprano. Officer Soprano, if you can come forward, please, along with your family. Officer Soprano has attended Morrisville State College and studied criminal justice. Graduated from Aquinas Institute. He has volunteered for many years at Camp Good Days and Special Times, along with other community service work. He's an Arundecoyt resident. He graduated from the Monroe County Public Safety Training Facility in this most recent academy class, along with Officer Kuhn. He has completed his field training program. He also was assigned to the 1st Platoon and will be working from 9:45 p.m. until 5:45 a.m. And he also was appointed as a result of a vacancy due to a retirement. Mr. Supervisor.
Raise your right hand. Put your left hand on the Bible. Repeat after me. I, Christopher M. Soprano, do solemnly swear
I, Christopher M. Soprano, do solemnly swear
that I will defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of New York.
that I will defend the Constitution.
I will enforce all of the laws of the state of New York and the town of Arundecoyt.
I will enforce all the laws of the state of New York and the town of Rockport.
I will fulfill the duties of the rank of police officer
I will fulfill the duties of the rank of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I will obey all orders, rules, and regulations
I will obey all orders, rules, and regulations
of the Arundecoyt Police Department.
of the Arundecoyt Police Department.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I will serve, protect, and guide
I will serve, protect, and guide
the citizens of the town of Arundecoyt.
the citizens of the town.
Congratulations.
I would just like to thank Chief Tantello, the supervisor, and the board for giving me the opportunity to work for such a great department. I would also like to thank my family for their support and all the other officers, including my field training officers, that have helped me along the way. Thank you.
I know we have a busy evening tonight, but I do want to say that on behalf of the Arundecoyt Police Department, I want to thank this town board for ensuring that we have sustained the ranks within the police department so that we can continue to provide a high level of service to the residents of this community. And I'm very pleased and honored to be working with such great individuals as the officers that were sworn in here tonight, as well as the men and women from the Arundecoyt Police Department who took time out of their busy schedules to be here. And certainly it's an honor to be here as well with our fellow first responders from the fire service, and congratulations to your award winners tonight as well. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna continue we can continue with public input, and we'll start the public hearings in about 10 minutes. Let me go grab this sign-in sheet. Grab it.
How many are in the recruits or anything else?
Okay, thanks for your patience. I forgot to get the sign-up sheet. There is actually nobody signed up for public input tonight. Was there anybody who wanted to address the board who did not have an opportunity to sign up for public input? This isn't the public hearings, this is the general public input for the meeting. Sir, come on forward. Just make sure to state your name for the board. You can go right up to the microphone, and on the other side there, you can face the board.
Todd, you here for
Yeah,
the...
there you go.
here for the sign.
Grab that mic. All right.
Hi, Todd Black,
Sure.
Black's Hardware, just to,
Okay, thank you. Okay, oh, for the public hearing, okay. I don't, okay. So anybody else wish to address the board? Come on forward, make sure to please state your name.
Mary Pacone, Rollinson Road, West Arundecoit. 33 Rollinson Road, thank you.
Great. Did you want,
Yeah,
oh, for the
that's
public hearing?
Public hearing.
I'm sorry, your name again then?
Mary Pacone,
Pacone.
P-I-C-C-O-N-E.
And for which public hearing?
I just wanted to make a comment.
The master plan?
No, not the master plan.
The
Just
signs.
Make a comment, yep.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the financial report.
The financial results for the town for the period ending July 31st, 2014. Total expenditures and encumbrances are $17.9 million, equating to 56.5% of budget. And that is less than the 58.3% of the year that has elapsed. Actual expenditures are $16.2 million, 50.9% of budget. Encumbrances of $1,755,000 equate to another 5.5%. As previously stated, encumbrances are typical. Departments are committing to necessary supplies and services. The general fund expenses of $10 million are below the percent of the year that has elapsed at 54.3% of budget. General fund expenditures are classified as follows. Actual expenditures, $9,251,000 and $758,000 of encumbrances. Altogether, the expenses in the highway funds are $4,096,000 or 71.8% of budget. As you are aware, Highway 4, the Winter Maintenance Fund, is experiencing high expenditures to date, and that resulted from the harsh winter, expenses associated with the winter conditions. The primary contributors to the significant expenditures in Highway 3 are installment debt and equipment parts. Residing in Highway 1 are notable encumbrances for asphalt, gas, and fuel. Actual expenditures in the other major funds are also lower than the percent of the year that has elapsed. The library has expended 54.3% of budget, equating to $1,047,000. The sewer fund is at 50.2% of budget, $1,931,000. Expenses in stormwater drainage is 33.9% of budget, $266,000. Regarding revenue for the town, The general fund has received $12.6 million, accounting for 68.8% of budget. $10.3 million is real estate tax. As of the end of July, the town had received 2 months of sales tax, $450,000, and 3 months of mortgage tax, $114,000. I'm happy to say that last week we received a sales tax revenue check of $802,000, and that amount will be reflected in the August report. As apparent from the financial report, the revenue line items that have recorded more than 58.3% of budget are cemetery, parks and recreation, other sources of revenue, and bails and fines. Within the other sources of revenue category is high property maintenance revenue. The revenue activity there is 76% of budget. $138,000 of the $138,000 of the $180,000 budget is in. The bails and fines line item contains a $100,000 code violations fine from the Metley Center. For the total town, $24.7 million, or 78.1% of revenue has been received to date. $16.3 million is real estate tax. $1,846,000 of revenue is in for the library. 95.7% of that fund's revenue. $5,024,000, or 88%, has been received by the highway fund. The sewer fund has recorded 99.6% of its budget, and that's a total of $3.8 million. To recap the financial results as of the end of July, total expenditures for the town are $17.9 million, 56% of budget, and total revenue for the town is $24.7 million, 78% of budget. This concludes my financial report.
Great, thank you, Annie. Are there any questions for the comptroller? No? Can I have a motion to approve the financial report?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the financial report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Approval of minutes, July 10th, 2014, the workshop meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any questions, comments? Anything other? No? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
July 17th, the regular town board meeting.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments, or discussion? No, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Items for board action. Item 8A, 2014-3, authorizing an interfund loan to the Seabreeze Water District for the purpose of repainting the Seabreeze Water District water tower.
Can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I will give an explanation of what this resolution is. As everybody is aware, the state has invested a number of dollars into the reconstruction of Seabreeze Drive, 590 through Irondequoit, which is the gateway. They invest about $17 million in reconstructing that road, making it into a gateway to one of Irondequoit's most well-known commercial and residential areas. And over the last several years, I know many residents have noticed, and I've received many phone calls to the office about the condition of the water tower. The water tower is obviously a prominent feature that sits right on 590 and Seabreeze Drive. And after spending all that money, in my judgment, the water tower has become in a state of disrepair and has become a blight in the neighborhood, and otherwise in a neighborhood that otherwise serves as an area of pride in Irondequoit. So what this resolution does is effectively gives the Seabreeze Water District the ability to move forward with the capital improvement project of painting the water tower and finally fixing it so that it can be a source of pride again for the neighborhood and the community. This is this action allows, as I said, the Seabreeze Water District to move forward with a project sooner than they might have otherwise been able to move forward with it. And is strictly for a capital improvement project. It is not for operating expenses or anything like that. The funds that are being loaned will be repaid back to the town to no taxpayer expense. So this is really a great solution of an example of two governments working together, of the Seabreeze Water District and the town of Arundequoit working together to solve a problem. We're going to be able to fix the water tower without costing taxpayer dollars and without having to result in an increase in water rates. So it's a win, I believe, for the water district ratepayers, town taxpayers, the community as a whole, and will also fix the water tower. So with that, is there any other questions or comments from the board? No? And I should have mentioned that the work will be done this year. So the water tower will be able to be fixed this year. Without any other questions or comments,
I think it's been a real
Long time
eyesore in
coming.
some people's backyards.
I think that's right. Yep. Okay, so there was a motion and a second? Okay. And there was a second, right?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, I see it's 7:35.
Do the
Okay.
public.
We'll go to the
We can do the public, the first public hearing.
item PH 8A 2014-1, in the matter of approving the Town of Arundequoit's comprehensive master plan.
Barbara, was a public notice published in the official newspaper?
Yes, it was.
Fantastic. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
In a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will begin the public hearing with a presentation by Carrie Ivers. I've introduced her at previous board meetings and again at the last public forum for the comp plan. Carrie is our Director of Planning and Zoning, and she's our Planning and Zoning Administrator who came to the town several months ago to help us finish the master plan and is doing fantastic work. And so we're going to start here by seeing a presentation by Carrie on the master plan, where we are with it, and give you a brief overview of what what is contained within the master plan. So I'd ask the town board members and those on the dais to please go on down, find a seat, and we will do a presentation.
Can everyone see this, or would you like me to dim a light? Does everybody can see this okay? Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to give you a brief overview of the comprehensive plan. Tonight we're just going to be talking about the plan framework. We'll give you some highlights about the contents of the plan document, and then we'll talk about next steps. So a lot has changed since 1985. That's the date of the last adopted comprehensive plan. And so that's one of the main reasons that this document and the plan needs to be not only updated but adopted by the town board to be considered the official guiding policy document for the community. There's been a lot of change in community development, new projects, things have come, things have gone. There's shifting demographics and local economy issues that need to be addressed in a comprehensive plan. Also, there's been a really strong desire to maintain Arundequoit's strong neighborhoods, thriving businesses, and the comprehensive plan, updating that is important to securing that in the future. And then also, I think another interesting point is since 1985, there's really been a rebirth in traditional community planning. So we've changed a little bit in our approach and thinking about how communities get strong and stay strong now and in the future. So why update the plan? Well, the plan establishes a community vision. So that's job number one for a comprehensive plan. And that's what the town of Arundequoit has identified as a priority and a need going forward. It helps us understand the opportunities and constraints what's happening now, what might be happening in the future, and how do we have to act accordingly. And then we can identify strategies for maintaining, enhancing, and building assets. And so that's really a positive framework. We want to start with what's working and what's good and move forward and figure out how to build that and make it better and stronger. It guides policymaking and capital investment. It provides a framework for decision-making in the community, something that's community-based and community-backed, so it's not arbitrary. And then finally, and probably most importantly, which is why it's bolded, it really helps the town in their grant funding or grant-making efforts. Communities that have comprehensive plans, it's really a requirement now, not a, oh, it'd be good if you had one. It's really a need. So that's why a critical issue. So the plan, there are a lot of the core elements of the plan have remained unchanged from previous versions to the one that's now being reviewed and considered by the community. Still a community-driven vision for the future. The vision statement has remained unchanged. It was a reflection of the voice of the people, many participants throughout the process. It focuses on neighborhoods and community businesses, identifies economic development as a priority, and looks at future land use in key areas that are going to help strengthen the town and continue to grow the town's position regionally and locally. And focusing specifically on East Ridge Road and the waterfront redevelopment areas and our neighborhoods. Also, it still has a combination of short-term, mid-range, and long-term objectives and strategies and actions that can be taken as a community by the town and its partners. So what things have changed? What's been revised? Well, obviously the data, the demographics in the previous draft needed to be updated. So that was a critical need and update. It's been edited to reflect changes that's happened over the last 5 years. There have been a lot of great new developments, some changes, things that have happened that needed to be reflected in the plan. And it's also been reorganized to more efficiently serve as a policy document. And then it's important to remember that this is not a capital improvements schedule. It's a broader document than that. So some of the highlights. There are a few major planning elements in a comprehensive plan. There's community participation and outreach. Tonight's part of that. Community profile, that's existing conditions. There's a townwide visioning and goal setting, implementation and recommended actions, and then finally, the final step in the planning process is a final comprehensive master plan. And what I probably should have put there in big bold letters is adopted. That's really critical. So for community outreach, really it's been a widespread effort on the town's part. So there have been a number of ways that folks have been engaged. So there was ongoing steering committee meetings. There have been many public informational meetings, including a public forum that was conducted a couple of weeks ago. Focus group meetings. There have been large group, small group, very interactive. There's always been a website. Email has always been a way to communicate. Informal conversations among stakeholders, residents. Really, it's been an effort that's been very community-driven. The plan document layout, you see it has 6 key sections, and then in addition to that, there's appendices that have some additional data. But section 1 is the plan intro. We've got section 2 is a community profile. That's that demographics, existing conditions section. Section 3 is vision, goals, strategies, and actions for a vibrant community. Section 4 is future land use, and section 5 is community design. And then section 6 is a compilation of all of the implementation ideas, projects, policies, things that the town and others can implement over time. And that's set up in a table form, so it's easy to use. So we look at the vision for the future, again, community-driven, but folks in Arundequoit want and see Arundequoit as a community for a lifetime. From birth to, there's really no nice way to say it, so I'm sorry. From birth to death, that doesn't ever sound very good, but community for a lifetime. And that's one of the reasons why we want to focus on well-defined and maintained neighborhoods, thriving businesses, walkable and attractive public spaces, preserving our natural resources here in the town, and ensuring continued high-quality municipal services. The community profile provides a snapshot of the community as it is today. Talks about demographics, it talks about natural, physical and natural environment, the regional context, and some economic indicators that help to ensure that the direction of the community is based in reality of what's happening and what could happen in the future. Future land use looks at some general categories, residential, corridor commercial, neighborhood commercial and mixed use, and then recreation and natural resources. One of the things that's really important to note is in future land use, the general layout of the community isn't going to change very much, if at all, in terms of where things are and where they're going to be in the future. The community is pretty well built out, and so the big focus is really going to be on redevelopment and identifying some of the development priorities for some key areas in the town where opportunities exist. So one of the things the future land use section really focuses on is the Eastridge Road corridor. And so we look at prioritizing redevelopment opportunities and looking at the key commercial locations where higher density and a mix of uses might be encouraged. We also want to look at ways to enhance the physical character of the corridor and also monitor and improve where possible and where feasible the multimodal access through the corridor. And that's a priority throughout the town as well. We also look at future land use. When we think about that, we think about our waterfront, which is a critical economic development opportunity in some of the places, some locations, some key locations in the town. And we want to recognize that role and look at the ways where good development can take place. We also want to ensure that the comprehensive plan is consistent with the local waterfront revitalization program. That is a separate planning document that will be updated in 2015. But the two documents have to be consistent and complementary to one another. The final section, or the final main section of the plan is looking at community design. It's a critical need, I think, as we try to focus on ways to enhance the community. Physical design not only changes how things look, it changes how things function, and it creates a climate for investment. So, places that are with new development and high quality development, it signifies to others that this is a place that investment is warranted and deserved, and it's something that folks should be looking at Irondequoit as a great location for future investment. So we're going to look at ways to enhance or create sense of place. We want to promote walkability and connectivity, multimodal access. We want to have attractive buildings and well-functioning site development. And we want to look at ways to protect natural assets in the process, and also look at green building, green infrastructure, green building strategies for both at the building level and site-specific, as well as larger neighborhood areas. And then the implementation summary, it's really intended to help the plan be a living document, something that we use all the time, that we can easily monitor progress and see how things are going. And I think the other thing is that it really builds organizational capacity through policy updates, administrative modifications, and then the enlistment of community partners. In that section, it doesn't just identify what needs to happen, it also talks about maybe what other organizations or agencies might be critical to completing the step that's outlined. So next steps for this was obviously we're going to continue with the public hearing shortly in a minute. We're encouraging and looking forward to public input in this process tonight, and again on September 2nd is another standalone public hearing. All the community feedback that we get will be considered, and updates will be made to the plan document, and then a revised plan will be presented to the community. State environmental quality review will be, the seeker will be completed, and then we'll be moving hopefully toward the town board adopting the final comprehensive master plan in 2014, which will be a wonderful accomplishment. And then I think then the other, going forward, the comprehensive plan will lay the groundwork for future planning that needs to take place. The local waterfront revitalization plan I spoke of a moment ago. We also will look at other planning opportunities such as the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and others as funding and opportunity and need arise. So for questions, comments, or input, there is a specific email address. Hint, it will come to me, but it's masterplan@arundequite.org. We encourage folks who don't feel comfortable speaking here in public, but want to offer their thoughts or insights, please feel free, utilize this email address, or always feel free to give a call to the office and ask for me, and I'd be more than happy to hear comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. And I also want to recognize Dan Dupre, who's here today from Clark Patterson Lee, and you can raise your hand there. We had contracted with Clark Patterson, as the community knows, to help work on the comprehensive master plan, and we've been working with them on a number of years. They were here when we started the process and are helping us close the process out this year, and I know they did a tremendous work, so I want to say thank you again for everything you guys are doing. With that, I do want to start the public hearing too by thanking the residents who came out to the last public hearing that we had a couple weeks ago, and for the input that you provided. It was valuable, it was useful. We heard a lot of ideas from residents and a lot of discussion that I thought was productive and talked about primarily. I know we did hear a lot about we heard a lot about density issues in neighborhoods. And in particular, there was a lot of discussion about a particular development on Titus Avenue and some R7 issues, and rezoning a particular part of land as R7 for a project there. And obviously, as a member of this community, I've been following this project for a number of years, and it's been a fairly divisive issue, I think, and it's been before a number of town boards. And I think there was some concern at the hearing about about the density issues, about what could happen and what could open the door. But I just wanted to be clear as we go through this process too, and I just want to be on record letting folks know this, that as the proposal stands before us, and as it had been presented to the town, I am not in favor of rezoning that parcel of land and will not entertain an application to do so to R7 with that current proposal. And so I just wanted the residents to know that and to have confidence in that. So as we move forward with the public hearing, we have a number of speakers who had signed up to speak, and so we'll go through those and then ask if anybody did not have a chance to sign up. You will be given an opportunity to do so. So we'll start with John and Diane DiTallo.
John DiTallo, 239 Winona Boulevard. I own a business on 4506 Culver Road, and I'm in favor of the master plan. I would like to see something done about Seabreeze and the bridge. You talk about development of business areas. Seabreeze is supposedly a place where most of Monroe County knows where it is, but 6 months out of the year, we do not have access, or people from Webster do not have access, and it kills our businesses. Okay, maybe not the food people, but the retail businesses. My business drops off considerably when that bridge is closed. Thank you very much.
Great.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. DiTallo. The next speaker signed up is Richard Barone.
Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive, town resident, 48 years. The word strong neighborhoods really pleases me quite a bit, and also, Mr. Supervisor, your statement about high density in the neighborhoods, which I spoke at the last meeting. Mm-hmm. Tonight's meeting, I'd like to speak about senior housing. About 3 years ago, the planning board made the statement, every one of the planning board members made a statement that was based on an assumption. And that assumption was that the legacy was something that was needed in Arundequoit because it was senior housing. They didn't have any evidence before them, no documentation, no testimony, yet they made that statement before they recommended to the town board that it rezone that property. My concern is that this governmental body and anyone in the town does not make a recommendation or a decision unless you have a few facts. Example, 2 surveys were done, and I hope to give this board those 2 surveys and do another one, showing that the legacy was not needed. It's a high-priced senior housing of up to $2,000 a month, and I know it intimately because my mother was there. 10 years ago, they were charging $2,000 a month. Well, excuse me, $1,800 to $2,000. My mom had a veranda of sorts, so that was a little more. In 10 years, they have not raised the rates one dime. The rates have come down. Why? Yet there are waiting lists of up to a year or two with 50 to 100 people on it for the modest cost senior housing in town. Rochester General Housing, Hudson Housing, Hobie Creek Apartments next to St. Cecilia's Church. So there is a need for senior housing. Why did they recommend? They didn't do their homework. That's my concern. So in the master plan, I haven't had a chance to go through it all, and that's my fault. I hope to go through it all. If there is a statement, and there should be a statement in there about senior housing needed in this town because of the waiting list, but it needs to be based upon facts and reality of what the need is. The need is a specific need. If you have no waiting list and you have vacancies for 10 years and you reduce your rental rates, and I was a former landlord in the city for a few years, I also own some rental property in this town because the housing prices have been coming down, so it makes it very advantageous for landlords to rent property, single-family homes. So my concern is that the master plan, if it is going to identify senior housing as a need, it be specific or some type of couch language indicating that the type of senior housing needs to be identified as to the cost of it. Now, where is the market going? Mr. DiMarzo and Legacy have gone into what is called assisted care. Why? Because that brings in like anywhere from $35,000 to $48,000 a year in income. So they can have fewer units and yet still make their profits. So that's where the need is based upon 2 administrators, not my saying it, 2 administrators of 2 senior housing on the east side and the west side of the county. So whatever statements in the master plan, it has to be articulated and accurate as to what the demographics are here. Thank you. And by the way, I think a lot of good stuff in that master plan, a lot of data, and a lot of demographics.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Barone. Okay. The next speaker signed up to speak is Greg Devlin.
Good evening. Greg Devlin, and I've tried to read through the master plan, but 128 pages, I think it is, a bit long. But I'd like to suggest that I'd like to see it be stronger. From my view, I might be wrong, I look upon the master plan as a vision of where we're going, and I also look upon it as how are we going to get there. And last time we had this meeting, the first meeting about this, a lot of us talked about taxes. And I know I specifically spoke about how we're at that precipitous level, getting near 50,000 in population. We don't want to get down there. We need to grow our population. We used to be 60,000 people, but we have 3 different taxes: town taxes, county taxes, and school taxes. Tons of fees, but we won't go there. Okay, but Arundequoit is well known for being the highest tax town in the area. We are in competition with the other towns and the city. The only way we're going to go ahead and beat the competition is to be better than the competition, which means the taxes have got to come down. We need to have strategies listed, in my opinion, in the master plan that state this is what we're going to do to lower town taxes. And this is how we're going to get there, and we're going to be at this particular point in 5 years. Right now, we have the highest town taxes. We should have a vision of in 5 years being the lowest town taxes. How are we going to get there? You know, I don't know what we can do about the county taxes. I frankly do not really understand equalization rates. I'm not even going to try. And last month, I know I talked a little bit about school taxes, and people kind of rolled their eyes and said, oh my God, no, and stuff like that. But seriously, of the 3 taxes, that's the big one. What can we do about that? The school boards really don't want to listen to this. I look upon this town board right here, right now, as you folks have a bully pulpit, and you're all 5 Democrats. That's an advantage to this particular case, in this particular time. I firmly believe that we should consolidate the one school district. They're not going to do that. However, could you invoke some help from Governor Cuomo? He has actively promoted consolidation of services. That's one of the things he's talked about. The only way something like this could happen would be if you folks, as a group, bring in some extra help like that and actually try to go ahead and force the issue, make it happen. If we could make something like that happen, lower school taxes, lower town taxes and stuff like that, have a vision and a timeline. One of the things that would also help would be the real estate folks. Because if they can go ahead and show potential buyers that we're here right now, but you want to buy this house because we're going to be better than everybody else in 5 years. And you'll be in better shape by having bought here. And this is the best town to be in, except for the cost. So if you can think about some things like that, personally, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to see it be stronger. I'd like to see us be better and stronger and compete better against all the other towns in the city. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Devlin. Mr. Ron Rigby. Mr. Rigby, there he is.
Ron Rigby, 38 Glen Hollow. Good evening, honorable board members.
Good evening.
I would like to comment on the density issues. Seems to be a hot topic. It seems there are several references calling for increased density of residential developments, including increased density for apartment projects in our neighborhoods. The call for density is very clear, yet the conditions are extremely vague. My concerns, along with everyone I have spoken to, is that once the board adopts a call for higher density, there will be no stopping the developers who often have your ear. The town needs new codes for many areas. However, no comprehensive plan should be adopted that creates such a one-sided opportunity for ill-advised change in zoning codes that would benefit developers at the expense of our neighborhoods. I cannot help but recall the last 4 years of wars in my neighborhood over density and commercial apartments being proposed by not only the developer, but by board members. And I appreciate, Mr. Supervisor, the statement you made this evening about the legacy property. And let's not forget the current town engineer, LaBella, was the one advising for high-density apartments on Titus Avenue in my neighborhood, referring back to the legacy issue. The comprehensive plan is the essence of zoning. Zoning must be accomplished in accordance with the comprehensive and well-planned. Some examples from the new proposed master plan. Page 4-3, under residential. In general, higher density housing such as townhomes, apartments, or multiple family dwellings should be located near major thoroughfares where existing infrastructure can support that type of development. There is a problem with this statement. Relative to the county, major thoroughfares would mean Keeler Street Expressway and I-590. However, relative to the town, major thoroughfares will easily be interpreted to mean Titus Avenue. And we know that will be the argument as soon as the next apartment application comes in. We will hear from leaders, oh, it's in the master plan. Another example, page 4-33, senior housing. Revisions to the code will be needed to allow well-designed, higher-density senior housing development to occur in appropriate areas of the community. Again, higher density is very specific, while the phrase appropriate areas is as vague as it could possibly be. To call for increased density of apartments and other residential developments and not protect my neighborhood is unacceptable. The call should be for less density, not more. Let's start tonight by adding the following. The Titus Avenue corridor east of Kings Highway is not appropriate for higher density developments and is to remain single-family development area. it is not appropriate for apartments. Often higher density is allowed by requiring more green space. Does this plan also call for more open and green spaces within development? Brighton and some other towns incorporate density numbers into the comprehensive plan in order to make it much more difficult to change zoning codes. We should do the same. The plan opens the door for abuse, and surely that is not the intent. Over the past decade, there has been a public outcry with thousands of signatures gathered from residents adamantly opposed to higher densities and opposed to apartments in our neighborhoods, especially the tightest corridor. We are told the plan is based on public input, public support, public ideas, and comment. I would challenge the board to provide one study, one survey, one public hearing, and any evidence that residents are calling for higher density apartment projects anywhere in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Were there any other residents who wanted to speak to the comprehensive master plan? No? Seeing none? Yep. Come on forward. Just state your name.
Good evening. My name is Mike Governelli. I live at 4164 St. Paul Boulevard. Had not planned to speak, but I feel the density issue is a hot topic, as he stated, so I wanted to just express my first and foremost support for the master plan. I think overall it's a very good document. I think I made it to page 130-something, so I think
You did well.
a lot of it was data and looking at the census and demographics and things, which is great. But overall, I moved to Irondequoit for the schools first and foremost. I love the housing stock, the old homes. I love being located near the lake and Seabreeze and Seneca Park Zoo and all that. I have two school-age children in the school district. So I feel that my tax burden, as the document points out, is very heavy, especially when the school budget is voted down and cuts start to be made. That's when I start to question my future in Irondequoit. When I think about all of that, again, the document I found correctly points out that the way to reduce that tax burden on homeowners and families is to increase density. Now, taking the Titus Avenue project off the table, because I would hate to see one project sort of dilute or derail an otherwise good document, I think density does need to be increased. And for that reason, it's because the only way we're going to reduce the tax burden on families and homeowners is to increase density, especially on commercial density, especially density along East Ridge Road and other areas where it makes sense to do so. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about the density issue, but I think it is important, and I don't want to see that be derailed by one project that the neighbors obviously don't want. So other than that, I think walkability is a big issue for Irondequoit as well, and I think density is something that can help with that, especially mixed-use density. I should clarify that. So not just zoning for residential here and commercial here, but bringing together a mix of uses like the I-Square development does, right? We need more of that, so that especially the younger generation and empty nesters and seniors are sort of looking for that now. There's sort of a demographic shift away from the suburban lifestyle more towards an urban lifestyle. So I think Irondequoit could really set itself apart from the rest of the towns if we had a little bit more of that type of development in Irondequoit. And I'd like to see a pedestrian and bicycle sort of an active transportation master plan, which the document calls out. I'm really looking forward to that. I think our neighborhoods could be more connected with the commercial districts and our parklands with some key trails, not just sidewalks, but trails, bike paths, enhanced public transportation. That's something that I'd like to see as well. And, so representing the younger crowd a little bit, I felt like I needed to step up and say that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Did anybody else wish to address the board in this public hearing? No? Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
PH 8A 2014-2, in the matter of amending Town Code Chapter 235, Article 21, Signs and Tables A, B, C, and D.
Okay, Barbara, was a public notice published in the official newspaper?
Yes, it was.
Fantastic. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing? And a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. I want to start the public hearing tonight by calling on Director Nick Weatherby to just give us a brief statement about the sign code proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So what we have before us today is currently in the town of Arundecoy in 4 districts, temporary and portable A-frame signs are allowed. For many years in the town, business owners in our business corridor, commercial and manufacturing, have been faced with a choice. Either you advertise your business during difficult economic times, obviously that's very important, or you decide, I'm not going to obey the town law, but because I need to advertise my business. So when the new administration took over and we were taking a look at policies that may help make it easier for businesses to promote themselves, especially on Ridge Road, what came to our attention is it's interesting that someone may choose to have a hefty fine levied against them just in the sake of needing to advertise. So maybe that bared taking a closer look at the laws that are on the books. So in our conversations with a number of business owners, primarily in our commercial and manufacturing districts, came to light that this isn't something they just chose to do because they liked A-frame signs. It's something they chose to do because they saw an economic benefit to having the sign in place. So after taking a look at it and taking a look at different ways we could approach it, we put together a draft law, and I want to emphasize there's a big, when you look at the law, there's a big sign that says draft on it. So this is a work in progress. So if people have comments, that's why we're doing this tonight. We're going to have another one next month. But for too long, for one reason or another, the town has probably looked the other way because they probably saw some sort of benefit to allowing the signs to exist so that town businesses could advertise, but they really were doing it in violation of law. So why not make a better law, one that actually everybody can follow? Because obviously if you've chosen to do business in this town, you have a vested interest in being here and you care about it, so you don't want to break the law. So when we looked at it, that's where we came to with the draft. Again, I emphasize draft law. I do want to point out one thing about the draft law that's in the current law that would stay the same. Any sign placed in a public right-of-way is not legal. It's not legal now. It's not going to be legal in the future. And we're going to do the best job we can to try to keep those signs out of the public right-of-way, and to the extent possible we can enforce the law and make sure that we let people know via letter or call that those signs are legal, then we'll do that. So that being said, I do want to note 2 administrative issues. One, the county, this was sent to the county DOT for comment, and they had no comments, yay or nay. They just was there for their review and comment, and they had nothing to really offer. And then we did have letters from 3 businesses that couldn't be here tonight that did want to express support for the proposed sign change. One was one that's all familiar to many of us, is Wambox Garden Center. The second one is Dalton Chiropractic on Culver Road. And the third is actually a not-for-profit. It is a religious institution in town, the Arundecoy United Church of Christ. All expressed their support for having signs, but we want to do this responsibly. So to the extent possible tonight, if we could, I think the goal is to hear what are the ways that we can do this in a way that doesn't detract from the aesthetics of the community and ultimately helps businesses advertise themselves, but in a way that doesn't detract from the neighbors or their neighborhood or the commercial corridor they're in. So I guess that being said, Mr. Supervisor, I turn it over to you in the public hearing.
Great, thanks, Mr. Weatherby, and I think that summed it up pretty well. Emphasizing this is a draft, so we'd like to hear from the public and the public business owners alike on what their thoughts are as we go through this process. So with that, we have a number of people signed up to speak, and I will, and then if you did not have a chance to sign up before I pulled the list, you'll be given an opportunity to do so. So the first person to sign up is James Hinman.
I come before you tonight as a 48-year resident, and one of the first things that I did when I moved into the town, probably one of the best things I did, was join Troop 154 of the Boy Scouts. And I'm now Scoutmaster, and I'm very concerned about the impact that this sign ordinance will have on the future of our troop and other youth organizations in the town. 90% of our budget comes from the sale of Christmas trees. As I read the draft ordinance, we would not be allowed to post signs other than between March and November. There's not a big market for Christmas trees between March and November. Matter of fact, we won't even have them available to sell during that period of time.
Really?
And then it says that the signs can be displayed between, I think it's 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. But we don't start selling the trees until 6 in the afternoon, and we sell them until 9. Unlike the troop that sells the trees at the corner of Thomas and St. Paul, and the other troop that sells them on Culver Road, we sell them from the back of the Irondequoit United Church of Christ. You can't see it when you drive by on Titus. You catch a glimpse of it as you come between the library and the bank and the Titus Tavern on Cooper. We have traditionally put up a sign on the bank's parking lot and a sign on the front of the church's parking lot just saying Troop 154 tree sales. That brings people who know us and who want to support us back to our area to purchase their trees. And as I said, that's 90% of our budget. I know that the church youth group used to have a sign out in front directing people to their clothing receptacle in the back. And I've seen that sign almost every town and city that I drive in, but one of the things that the minister pointed out in his letter to you is that they were told that sign had to come down. And I think that's hurt the church youth group in terms of the income that they derive from that clothing box. We try and provide a service to the town by providing an opportunity for young men to learn leadership, citizenship, personal development, values, and we instill that in them through the program that's been around for more than 100 years and has worked very well. We've helped produce over 140 Eagle Scouts. We've had thousands of boys go through our troop. They've all learned from it, and I'm very concerned that unless the sign ordinance allows for the recognition that there are youth groups and other not-for-profit groups who occasionally are going to be having activities like this and are going to need signs in order to be able to sell what they have to offer, to fund what we offer to the youth, we're not going to be able to continue. So I'd ask you to take that into account. I'd also ask you, as a member of the church, and I became a member because I joined the scout troop and became familiar with the church, and when I was looking for a church, I naturally went there. Our church, unlike some churches in town that I've heard of, our parking lot's busy just about every night of the week. That's because we have a number of different organizations that we host, all of whom have separate activities, many of whom at different times have different needs to promote what they're doing. And so I think you also need to take into account, we want to be a vital part of the community. We've traditionally been that. So there may be times when we're going to need many signs. I remember the days when Ridge Road was a sign haven. I remember the big rocket sign outside Land's Oldsmobile at Ridge and Stanton Lane and all the many different signs. And the signs have come down, and that looks real nice. and I understand that business owners need signs and they have separate considerations. All I'd ask that you do is that when you're crafting this law, that you make some exemption that allows not-for-profit organizations or youth groups to put signs up to promote the things that they're doing to enable us to continue to provide the services and the programs that we provide. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. The next speaker signed up is Mr. Ditalo.
John Ditalo, 339 Winona Boulevard. I wasn't aware there was a draft or signed draft. I have not read it yet. But about a year ago, I received, I don't know if you want to call it a summons or I've got a notice in the mail that I had an A-frame out front of my store, on my building and our stores. It was on my property. They took a picture of it. I immediately came down to Town Hall, removed the sign, and sent an email to the clerk, and I'm not sure who it was there, but I sent an email. She suggested that I do, giving you different parameters of what I thought would be fair for a business owner. Now, I've talked to a couple other business people in the area, and there was a statement made, some people are exempt from this A-frame or signage. And I said, well, how can they be exempt? And I'm a businessman, and I can't have a sign of whatever size, even though it's on my property. Okay, I'm not on the walkway. I take it in every night. It's only there when I'm open for business, and that's not too long. It's 11 to 4. Okay, I would love to leave it out all night, but somebody would come by and steal it. Okay? I suggested a commercial piece, a commercially bought A-frame, so high, so wide. Take a picture of it and have it approved by whoever approves them. Okay? If it doesn't meet the regulation, you buy a different one, or you try to make it right. Banners. I see banners all over Irondequoit. People are, again, they say they're exempt, and I'm not holding. Let's look at the library out. There's a big banner advertising Camp Eastman. Okay? I help it out at Camp Eastman. Okay? But you have banners. I put a banner up, I get ticketed. You have this thing that's going on here now, and there's an A-frame on town property. It's out all the time. If we're going to survive at Seabreeze or in Irondequoit, we need advertising. I have people come by my store and say, we don't see your, we didn't even know it's there. I says, and I'll give Sue, for instance. Okay, Sue? She's been down there 3 years at the restaurant. She says, where's your store? I've been going by there twice a day, home, to work and from work. I says, where's your store? She says, haven't seen it. Either she's, not looking, but it's there, and people say, I can't see, I don't know where your store is. Now, I've done advertising. I spent AdWorks and a couple other places. They still come in the store. I don't know your store's here. Where is it? I want to survive in Irondequoit. We're doing very good with our business, but without the bridge and without signs, I'm not going to last very much longer. Okay? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The next speaker signed up is Richard Barone. Cool.
Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive. I have talked to some of the business people in the last 2 years about the signs. Some have been very cooperative and understood what the law was about. Many of them have signs on the buildings. Some of the signs on these buildings are very, very large. For example, Enterprise Car Rental has 3 signs on its building, plus a post sign. And then they proceeded to put 7 signs on all the light poles, vertical signs, which you cannot read unless you go like this. Well, eventually took the signs down. So where do we end this? I'd like to speak specifically to the code. Item 1, portable temporary signs should not be attached to fences, trees, vehicles, light poles, and so forth. I support that. However, with vehicles, you may have a problem. I don't know if the attorney has researched it, but New York State has the authority on vehicles. That's why DiVincenzo's Bakery has a pickup truck in the parking lot with a monster 10-foot whip sale sign attached to the pickup truck. And I don't think you can regulate that. The last time I checked the code, the state code on vehicles, I had an occasion to check it, and it does talk about cars and where you can put signs on cars. I'm not sure. I think you need to research that. I'm not sure you can have that in the code. Portable signs shall be placed to permit unimpeded pedestrian. Now, in the last 2 years, and the gentleman in the back mentioned Dalton Chiropractic. He has a wide sign blocking the sidewalk. In the wintertime, you can't get by there with the snowbank. Someone in a wheelchair cannot walk on that sidewalk. They are forced to go into the road. Now, I compliment him if he supports the code, because your code says nothing in the sidewalk. I think that's great. By the way, I want to say there was a lot of care in wording this code. And I can read it just in the way you worded it, that you took care and you're concerned about the health and safety of this town and of the residents. Pennants, inflatable signs, whip sales, and so forth. We've had whip sales fall into the road. I almost got hit by a car at the Sunoco corner, Culver and Ridge, because they couldn't see me because of the whip sale that was blocking that driver's view. Banner signs, unless attached to the principal building, are not permitted. I oppose banner signs completely. If there's a permanent sign on the building, why do you need a banner sign? There's a section later on that talks about banner signs for grand openings and things like that. Maybe once a year sale could be a banner sign as a compromise, but banners deteriorate, and I don't think they're necessary. Should the owner of the business have a permanent sign? Of course. I think the town has done that all the time. Signs, again, number 8, signs attached or painted vehicles, again, the issue of the legality of that. Portable signs, 1 per business or apartment. You can argue that if a business, a farm or a business has 25 articles, maybe they should have a sign for every 25 articles. I oppose the 3 signs for the farmers. You want to have signs for the strawberries, the zucchini, and the onions? How about some other vegetables? The other thing I oppose is the size. You are allowing the size for farm markets to be twice the size of the other size. Let me give you an idea what that means. This is about the size of what you approved. It's a little bit smaller, maybe a couple inches. You're proposing 3 signs this size, double the size, and 3 of them on a farm market. My God, where are you going to put them? I think that's overkill. You need to do something for the farm markets, but I'm not sure. I think maybe you've gone too far in allowing the number and the size of what's in the proposed code. The other item is temporary signs apparently on residential areas. For contractors, we're building a roof here, here's our sign, that's fine. The one problem I see is you include in that the snow removal services, and I've got one. And I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, my contractor for snow removal has been there anywhere from about 16 or 15 times to about 22 times. According to the code, that means I can put a sign up there 15 or 16, or the contractor can, 16 times during the winter, and it can stay there for 3 days. Maybe a sign in late fall saying that they're going to be snow plowing this area, get them some exposure, and that's it. But putting signs up on snowbanks and then you have snow cover, well, I think you need to adjust that a little bit in that area. Now, there's been at least 150 complaints filed. And some of these complaints are based upon hazards. For example, other than the pedestrian, there's several other areas where they're blocking the sidewalk or they're in the parking lot For example, the Salvatore's Treachers, there's a sign there that's right on the sidewalk parking area. I don't know how you can miss hitting the darn thing. Hotsville has a sign right in the sidewalk parking area. But let me give you an example of Yo Crave, which was an ice cream place before, right next to almost next to the House of Guitars. They constantly have a sign in the median, which reminds me of the median in Greece, where some businessman put a sign right in the median between the 4 lanes of the thing. It lasted about 2 days. So I personally view that, because I go on Titus every day. They have a sign there constantly. They have a banner there the last 2 weekends because there's a barbecue person doing barbecue who also put signs throughout the town on other people's property. I don't know if he's got permission or not. And that sign fell in the road once when I was going by. It was in the road. That's a hazard. That sign should not be there. It's right on the curb. It should not be there. Now, he has put a different language on it of extra parking in the back. There was something in the code before, I haven't looked at it too closely, where you can have a sign talking about parking, I believe, or driveway or something like that. I think that's mostly in commercial. But the health and safety of this town is important. For someone to say that their business depends upon a sign, I don't believe it. We have 20-plus vacant businesses on Ridge Road and Hudson. Why? Is it because of lack of signage? Some of these vacancies have been vacant for 7, 8, 9 years. Damon's in Culver Ridge has been vacant for 8 or 9 years. Because of no sign out there, I don't buy it. Now, I do business with Black Hardware. I love the guys. They have 3 signs out there, but they have a big sign on the side of the building. Now, don't know that Black's Hardware is there with the building standing by itself and a big sign on the side. My cousin owns the old Palermo's building, and I've had discussion with him. And, you know, he'd like to see something that's regulated, that's reasonable. Unfortunately, all his property there is paved. So I don't know what you're going to do. There's a sign right there, right on the corner, next to the telephone pole, 2 inches from the curb. Some barber shop. So my concern is that you need to regulate it. The town, the previous town administration did nothing. And that's a violation of the state constitution, the equal protection laws. You cannot enforce some laws, say against Medley Center, and not enforce that law against these other businesses. And you're liable to a lawsuit. You're also liable to some other things that can be done that are not legal that I think I've mentioned that before to some people in this room. Anyways, I think I've talked long enough. If I miss something, I will come to the next public hearing and address that. So I support signage. I'm not crazy about the A-frame or sandwich signs, but the other prohibitions you have in here are for the health and safety of the residents and the drivers, and I fully support that, and I thank you for the care and effort that went into it so far.
Thank you, Mr. Barone. The next speaker signed up is Mr. Black.
Todd Black, Black's Hardware, and 610 East Ridge Road. And I appreciate the letter that I received from Supervisor Bello addressed to the business people. And basically, I can't agree more with what I'm looking at here. Expanding economic development opportunities and fostering growth among local business is a top priority. How could a business person not like that? Irondequoit's future will rest largely on our ability to make Irondequoit the best community to do business. We've been there over 40 years, survived numerous situations, administrations, road construction, you name it, we've dealt with it. And to me, this is such a, I don't want to minimize, codes, laws. Speaking personally for us, we just got a new parking lot. We totally repainted our building. We feel we have one of the nice landscaped properties in Irondequoit. We take great pride in the appearance. And to address Mr. Barone, we appreciate it. He's a very good customer. However, the two A-frame signs, or if you want to say three, we do window and screen repair. Those are unique services. It's a very small, professionally made sign. The other signs are that we can duplicate and program computer automotive chip keys, which is a great service. Obviously, we're across the street from Delta Sonic. People see those signs. Those services are not in our building where it just says hardware, glass, electrical. People are not going to realize that. I can't tell you how many customers come into our store and say, I didn't know you did that. I saw your sign. We take them in every night. They're well maintained. They're not blocking the sidewalk. They're not blocking the parking lot. But just to the grander scheme of things, not just Black's Hardware, I appreciate the fact that, something is trying to be done here. Hopefully, if there's something drafted, and I did not realize there was a draft, I would like to see that.
Sure.
I understand by speaking with Greg that there would possibly be a small fee. As long as the fee is not as, if the fee is less than the violation, I'll just pay the violation. So whatever the best deal we could come up with, to reduce the cost of business. Look, seriously, I'm all for the proper appearance, aesthetics of Ridge Road and the town of Arundequoit. And, I'd like to see what the draft looks like, and, thank you for your concern.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Black. And for those who haven't had a chance to see the proposal, the draft proposal is available in the town clerk's office. Also, if you email, my office, supervisor@arundequoit.org, I'm happy to forward you a copy of the law as well. I want it to be as free and available to anyone who wants to see it. The next speaker signed up is Mr. Pacone. Is he? Or I'm sorry, Miss Pacone. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Mary Pacone, I live at 33 Rollinson Road, and I've been there since 1986. I have a problem with the property that backs up to my backyard, and I've been dealing with the town of Arundequoit for the last 15 years, and I spoke to a number of very nice people in your offices, one particularly, Donna Martello, and I also went to Berkeley Breen about this because nothing was done. The family that owned the house with the lot on Berry Road has been deceased, and someone bought the property in December. But the lot that backs up to my yard has trees that have not been cut down, and there's a main pole in that person's yard that has electrical cable and telephone wire. And when I called RG&E, they do come down periodically to cut the branches down. The gentleman told me from RG&E this pole is so old it has ceramic, which they don't even use anymore on the pole. And I also called the health board because there's cans back there, and it looks terrible. And I was told that I would have to come down here and present it before the board to see if you have anything in the books on the code to actually have the trees cut down. The people that lived there before make the yard presentable from Berry Road. I had a firefighter in my house last year when my daughter had a birthday party who works for the town of East Arundequoit. And he says, oh, you should do something about this. Can't you call anybody? I said, I've been dealing with this for 15 years. Everybody's very nice to me. But there's nothing on the books to actually cut these trees down. And I'm afraid if we have another major windstorm, the trees are going to fall on my garage, my car, or my neighbor's garage. And it looks like heck. And when I go to sell my house in a few years, the first thing they're going to say to me is, what's up with the yard? I can't even entertain my company in my backyard because when you look at it, you're looking at trees, and it's really disgusting, but there really is nothing on the books as far as cutting those trees down. And I was told that I'd have to come before the board to see if there could be something. I mean, they've taken photographs. The previous administration has come out and taken pictures. At one point, I went up to speak to somebody a few years ago when the person was still alive in that house before they sold it, and I was told, oh, why don't you go and talk to that person? Well, obviously, I didn't know who she was, but it's just, in the town of Arundecoit, there are a lot of homes that are being, they don't take care of them. I walk my dog every day, and I see these homes. There's one across from Berry Road, which is on St. Paul Boulevard, and I tried to get the address. There's no house number on it. So you have some homes in Arundecoit that are probably paying their taxes, but guess what? The property looks like holy heck, and if you want this town to look nice, it needs to be spruced up a little bit, and I would appreciate it if someone could look into that matter for me, because everyone's very nice when I call them on the phone, but it's very frustrating. I've been dealing with this problem for 15 years.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, thank
Ms. Pacone, if you can make sure that Director Weatherby in the back has your contact information, so I can follow up with you. All right, thank you very much. Okay, anyone else like to address the board? Yep, come on forward, yep.
Good evening. My name is Ron Gatz. I'm the owner of S&R Bait and Tackle, 4423 Culver Road. I've been in business approximately 33 years, and I do have an A-frame sign. It's on my property. I put messages on it like price of bait, watch for school buses, and certain things like that. Have a safe and happy holiday. So I'm in favor of you folks doing something great like that. Now, I heard from somebody, that gentleman back there, saying that he doesn't believe signs make a difference for their business. I'm here to tell him that do. I don't know what business he owns, but they do make a difference. And I see it every week with my sign out there. So I would appreciate if you would pass something to that effect.
Great, thank you. Was there anybody else who did not have a chance to sign up who wanted to address the board? Mr. Devlin?
I wasn't even going to talk about this, but
Okay.
Inman came up here and reminded me of something.
Sure.
I'm a former Scoutmaster, but my church no longer exists, so our troop no longer exists. But our major fundraiser used to be spaghetti dinner. Sure. We put up one sign on St. Paul Boulevard, and the boys made the sign. We got in trouble. Well, we didn't really get in trouble. They just took it down. I called the town board, and I said, somebody stole our sign. They said, yeah, we took it down. It's illegal. My point is that I agree with what he said. There have to be exceptions, and I hope you will go ahead and consider that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else would like to address the board? No? Okay. Thank you all for that input. As we go through the process, as we said, we would consider all the input by the public, and as you'll see in we'll be able to discuss this again at future meetings. We're not voting on the new law tonight. We wanted to make sure that we had as much input and discussion from the public as possible. So with that, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. In a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Items for board action. Item 8A, 2014-4, calling for a public hearing on the matter of approving the Town of Arundecoit Comprehensive Master Plan.
Is there a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, this resolution is the next step in approving the town's comprehensive master plan. It's the next public forum that's scheduled for public input and to hear from residents on the plan. And the hearing will be on September 2nd at 7
It's actually-
o'clock. Or I'm sorry.
There's two, September 2nd and September 18th.
That's right, September 2nd and September 18th, here at Town Hall. So. And September 2nd is also going to be, that evening is going to be a special town board meeting.
Correct. And just a note, in the public hearing that night will start at 7.
At 7 o'clock.
As opposed to 7:30, which if people show up later, like
Good.
usual.
Okay, so 7 o'clock on September 2nd, and then again, we'll go on September 18th.
And that will be that'll be a 7:35.
7:35, okay. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-5, filling a Conservation Board vacancy.
Can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Director Weatherby, would you mind speaking for a moment about the candidate?
Sure. This is a vacancy that exists through the end of 2015. We were fortunate to have a number of good candidates contact us. Bob Kiley and myself interviewed. Bob Kiley is the Deputy Commissioner of Public Works. He's also the liaison to the Conservation Board. Interviewed the candidates, and Daniel Yanish, who joins us here tonight. Daniel, why don't you raise your, you can't get away with not showing yourself there.
Oh, good.
He joined us tonight. He's a resident of Arundecoy, obviously. He has a great background in engineering. He's worked for a number of engineering firms. You know, I'm going to really turn it over to Bob now to say a little bit more about his experience with Dan. He's worked with him in a number of capacities.
I've had the pleasure of working with Dan on several different projects in the past 5 years. As a licensed professional engineer in New York State, I think Daniel's talents will really come into play on the Town Conservation Board. Personally witnessed some of Daniel's site plans to stormwater capacities. I know that here in Arundecoy with steep slopes, our E-pods, I think Daniel's talents and expertise will definitely be a great asset for the town. So I'm pleased to put forth Dan's name to be appointed as the next, the last Conservation Board member.
And this will make it a fully constituted board now. There won't be any vacancies.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Yanish, on your new appointment. And good luck. Okay.
Item 8A, 2014-6, appointing an alternate member to the Town Planning Board.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Again, Director Weatherby, would you mind speaking to this?
Sure. Due to an extended absence of one of the members of the planning board due to work, they've actually been asked to travel out of state for a number of months, and they were very dedicated to the board. They did not want to resign. If you remember, about 3-4 months ago, we passed an alternate member to the planning and zoning board members. There was legislation that we put forth to do that. It was actually precisely for this type of circumstance that could come up, or, you know, obviously if someone had to be taking extended leave for another family reason or what have you. We're fortunate to have a great candidate, Kim Romeo. She's known around Town Hall very well. She's been engaged in community issues based primarily around conservation issues, land use issues. She's been involved with the Conservation Board for a number of years. And she has a great background and a perspective that she'll bring to this board for about the 6 months that she'll serve as a primary board member until the regular board member returns. It's important to note any project that an alternate member starts, they will continue with even when their regular member is back. So there's a consistency in the board that is acting on these different projects. So to the extent that may come up, that will be logged and make sure that we have the right board members for the votes.
Great. Thank you. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Kimmy Romeo for a number of years and know her to be a fine, dedicated public servant who I know is going to do a fantastic job in this role. Anyone else have any comments or questions? No. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-7, authorizing the contract for HVAC work for the Town of Arundecoy and building the Arundecoy Public Library.
So moved.
And can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to ask Deputy Supervisor Perticone to talk about the next 4 resolutions, which are all speak to the construction project of the Arundecoy Public Library.
Yeah, these are basically the last 4 big contracts that are going to be let out in the library. We have the general trades we're going to approve tonight, the HVAC, plumbing and fire protection, and the electrical as well. So This is it. I mean, this is where we're going to get moving here on this library right here. We had a lot of participation with the bids. I mean, the electrical and the electrical and the HVAC and plumbing. I think we had between 9 and 11 bids. So we got a lot of good numbers out there. We're on our way right here. So let's get ready for a little library envy going here. One thing I can't stress enough the group that's been put together in that trailer on Wednesday mornings. Krista Construction, John Radici, Passero with Peter Wayner, Mike Shaffron with LaBella, and LaCroix, and Dick LaCroix. And I also want to give a lot of kudos to the town. Nick Weatherby, Adam, Sarah's there as well. And a big thank you goes to our DPW department with Pat Meredith and Bob Kiley as well. You guys have helped out tremendously, and I know you will continue to do it. It's been a good group. Everybody's working together. And with my experience, jobs that start out good, they continue good, they're going to end good, and I got a lot of confidence that this one will continue. You're going to see steel swinging out there within the next 3 to 4 weeks, and things are going to be really moving. So I'll get ready to see the library come out of the ground right now. So these are all good contractors that we've approved and bid the jobs. We got good numbers in, and I'm happy to say we're going to have some good craftsmen too on the job. So
Great.
I'm looking forward to approving these last 4 contracts.
Great.
And yes, they're all local companies. I just want to point that out.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Nick. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I just want to also add that, much to John's initiative, he's trying to not pressure, but just encourage the contractors to the best he can to use folks from Arundecoit.
I think we'll see that. I think we're going to see some residents on this job. I think we will. So that'll be good. I know some people in the trailer from the town that have been working on the project, so that's a good sign as well, too. So.
Okay. Good. And I'm just going to echo those comments. This has been a great project, I think, right from the beginning. I think it's been going well. And we have been able to secure nothing but the best and the brightest of local talent to work on what I know the community's, a building I know the community's going to be very proud of. This is actually a great night. It's the final bidding packages. So this is a pretty significant, I think, milestone in the building of our new library. So with that, all those in favor of the resolution that was introduced was for the contract for HVAC work. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-8, authorizing the contract for electrical work for the town of Arundecoit and building the Arundecoit Public Library.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-9, authorizing the contract for plumbing and fire prevention work for the town of Arundecoit and building the Arundecoit Public Library.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-10, authorizing the contract for general trades work for the town of Arundecoit and building the Arundecoit Public Library.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Barbara, I'm going to stop for 1 second before we move on to the next resolution. I would like to call back up the resolution we passed a few minutes ago, calling for a public hearing on the matter of approving the Town of Arundecoit Comprehensive Master Plan. What I want to do is I need to amend the resolution that we had passed. And so what I want to do is to clarify the September 2nd meeting for the public. So what I'd like to do is, in order to do that, entertain a motion to rescind the passage of that resolution, rescind it, and then I'll explain how to amend it, and then ask for a motion to approve an amended resolution. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So can I ask for a motion to rescind that resolution?
Moved.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The town code, I want to be clear, the public hearings take place at 7:35. We cannot have a public hearing that takes place after 7:35. So on September 2nd, the town board meeting, the special meeting will be at 7. The public hearing will again be at 7:45. Okay? And that goes the same for September 7:45. 35. Wow. It's a late night. So September 2nd at 7:35, and then on September 18th, the town board meeting is at 7, and this public hearing at 7:35. So to be clear, both board meetings are at 7. Public hearings are at 7:35. So I want to amend the resolution to read September 2nd, 2014 at 7:35. And then September 18th, 2014 at 7:35. Can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hope that was clear as mud. All right.
Item 8A, 2014-11A, adopt a resolution pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County for the purpose of local laws.
Can I actually, before I entertain a motion, can I actually call on our town engineers to come forward and do a presentation on the seeker?
Kathy Spencer, LaBella Associates. I'm an environmental scientist. We've reviewed the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Arundecoit and the Monroe County Department of Planning and Development, and have categorized it as an unlisted action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. For that reason, we prepared a short environmental assessment form, and which we're presenting tonight for the town board's consideration, along with a recommendation that a negative declaration be issued. The intermunicipal agreement exempts certain actions which are mostly of local significance rather than countywide significance from county planning review. It has no environmental impacts and will not affect town resources. Any actions exempted from planning board review will still be subject to all other county, federal, state laws, regulations, and permit processes, as well as seeker if it's applicable. Therefore, we are recommending a negative declaration for this action.
Great, thank you. Can I have a motion? In a second?
Second.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the town engineer? No? Okay, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-11B, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County for the purpose of local laws.
Can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Okay, and I'd like to call on Director Weatherby to give an explanation for this resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Bello. This is actually a great example of a town working with the county. It's a common sense agreement. It really exempts the town and the county from having to exchange in needless paperwork back and forth on relatively routine matters. It saves the town staff time and the town taxpayers money, and vice versa. And actually, if you refer to the county planning guide, they actually talk about the purpose of the exemption is to make the land development process more cost-effective and efficient. So it's pretty straightforward as to what it does.
Great, thank you. And thank you for your work on this. I think this is a good way of the town working with the county to reduce costs and reduce and create more efficiencies in government, reduce sort of the bureaucracy here. Any questions from the board? Any comments? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-12, calling for a public hearing on the matter of amending Town Code Chapter 235, Article 21, signs and tables A, B, C, and D.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. This resolution is the calling for the next public hearing for the amending the sign code that we just had a public hearing for tonight. This is another public hearing scheduled for September 18th at 7:37. Can I have we had a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A 2014-13, authorizing establishment of traffic control device.
Okay.
Moved.
And a second? Okay. Chief, just give us a quick description of the resolution.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
As we know, the traffic signal has previously been approved for the intersection of Titus and Gardam. That work is scheduled to be completed or start in the spring of the year. And with that configuration of that intersection, the county is recommending that left turn only lanes be established for both eastbound and westbound traffic on Titus Avenue at Gardam, which will certainly enhance that intersection based upon the traffic flow that occurs.
Great, thank you, Chief. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'm now going to recognize Councilman Seeley for the purpose of introducing a new local law.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move the following proposed law, which would add a new chapter to the town code to govern secondhand dealers and jewelry and coin exchange dealers operating within Arundecoit. It would create, among other things, a licensing and reporting program within the town to curb the distribution of stolen property and to facilitate its recovery. The program would serve to monitor and track transactions involving secondhand goods and provide local law enforcement with the tools to recover stolen property. The proposed law is necessary to level the playing field among jewelry and coin exchange stores and secondhand dealers, and would infuse transparency and accountability to an industry that at times is abused by criminals.
Great, thank you. Now we can read the resolution, Barbara.
Adopt or call for a public hearing on the matter of amending Town Code Chapter 165 pawnbrokers, secondhand dealers, and jewelry and coin exchange dealers.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Second. And a second. And Chief, could I ask for some input from you as well?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we certainly thank you for moving that motion forward. And as Councilman Seeley indicated, this would provide us with the ability to work with these particular business establishments to ensure that the regulations are adhered to, as well as protecting the interest of our citizens and the public as far as these transactions, to ensure that they're legitimately completed and that we have the ability and the tools and resources necessary to be able to track these particular items that unfortunately in some instances have been the proceeds of criminal activities, and the software that's included in this particular package that provides the database for us to be able to track and work with any potential victims associated with this, that although it's been extremely successful for us in the past, and it provides all of the individuals or proprietors involved in this activity with the ability to work with local law enforcement.
Great. Thank you. And so again, this resolution is scheduling a public hearing for this proposal for September 18th at the town board meeting at 7:36. Okay? All right. Any other questions or comments from the board this time? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A 2014-15, authorizing the award of the topsoil barn cover contract.
Is there a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 8A 2014-16, adopt a resolution pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to the creation of recreational facilities on town property located at 117 Kings Highway.
Okay, and before I call for a motion, I would like to again call on our town engineer to come forward and give a presentation on the secret process.
Good evening. Just as an overview, what is proposed is to construct two youth ball fields on the town hall campus. The location of these would be accessed from Kings Highway, a county road, and the location of this would be north of the town hall and north of the current DPW buildings. Along with the two youth ball fields, there would also be a T-ball field for the youngsters to play in. There is proposed to have two parking areas to be in the immediate vicinity of these facilities to assist in attending these games. In working with the baseball community, it's understood that while there is two fields and this T-ball field, scheduling during the weekday events would be such that there would be no more than 4 teams playing at any one time. It could be a combination of 2 games with 4 teams, 1 team playing and 2 teams practicing, whether it be a T-ball or a baseball team practicing, so a total of 4 teams as a maximum at any one time. Kathy has reviewed this, and I'll also mention that there will be no lighting on these fields is proposed at this time.
Yes, once again, I reviewed the ball fields development north of the town hall, categorized it as an unlisted action under seeker, and therefore prepared the short environmental assessment form for the town board's consideration. We're again recommending the issuance of a negative declaration. Most of the site, as you know, is cleared. There's very little or no natural vegetation or habitat left on the site, so we went through parts 2 and 3 of the form, which we're presenting here tonight. None of the potential environmental impacts rose to the level of moderate or large. Every box we checked no impact or small. Nevertheless, we did end up preparing a statement of significance in part 3 of the form to document the reasons why we thought certain issues that might be of concern were categorized as small instead of moderate or large. The 4 issues that fell into this category were community character, traffic, parking, and potential hazardous conditions. Part 3 documents why none of these issues rose to the level of moderate or large. We're happy to go through a little bit of that documentation, and Mike can talk more about parking and traffic if you would like to hear that. But basically, in the end, we did not identify any significant environmental impacts and recommend a negative declaration.
Good. And you do recommend a negative declaration?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
When you can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you look at the traffic analysis and you're talking about the additional average trips per night, I assume you're taking into account the time of year. It's summer. On Thursday nights particularly, we see a peak in traffic in the town hall campus. Do you take the average of a 5-day weekday, or the days that the ball fields would be used, or is it a 7-day average of the number of trips per day?
It's more of a gross average of this, in that to complete this analysis, we did go out and do traffic counts during the time period when individuals would likely to arrive at the games. The games normally start at 6:15, so we kind of accounted for people arriving to participate in these events around 5:45 on. And so we did take traffic counts to judge and gauge the amount of traffic on the road at that point in time, as well as turning movements. So we didn't necessarily go out on a particular evening, but we did make one evening traffic counts with that. I think it's interesting to point out that when you do these traffic counts and evaluate the impacts of development, it's often a case where you need to make improvements such that there is no change in the existing level of service. And this certainly is going to be the case with this project, but I should also point out that the level of service at these intersections are very high. They're rated based on the amount of delay certain turning movements would count, and they range from A, which is very little delay, to F, to an unreasonable delay. The current level of service are all A's and B's, and those levels of service would be maintained. So it's one thing to say we're not degrading the traffic, but it's also important to note that it's at a very high level of service out there today.
Thanks, Mike.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, so now I'll ask for a motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
All right, and this is the final step in being able to that we've dealt with this for the last couple of months for the potential for recreational facilities right here on the town hall campus, and hopefully we'll be able to have an announcement for the public very soon with what we can put together there. So if I can, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-17, appointing a Board of Assessment Review member to a 5-year term.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Enza, can you just give a quick...
Yeah, usually we have a Board of Assessment Review, and Scott Smith previously was on as a board member for 5 years. The terms are 5 years. This is to reappoint Scott for another 5-year term. He's willing to serve. Scott is an Arundecoit resident. He's also the real estate attorney for the city of Rochester, so we're very fortunate to have him on our Board of Assessment Review. And he does great for the residents, and a great thing to have him on our board.
Great. Thanks, Enza. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-18, authorizing the supervisor to sign an amended agreement with attorney to the town.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
And this resolution, as everybody's aware, we appointed Harder, Seacrest, and Emery on January 1st to serve as our town attorney, and this is, as the attorney to the town. And this resolution authorizes us to sign a contract with them. Any questions or comments? No? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-19, approving the special event license for the second annual Mike Coyle Memorial Fun Run.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And can I have a
Second.
And this event is this is the Mike Coyle Memorial Fun Run. It's going to be held on Sunday, August 31st, beginning at 9 a.m. At the Listwood Elementary School. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-20, approving the special event license for Stepping Stones Learning Center's 5K Run Walk Family Celebration for Autism.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
And again, this is the Stepping Stones Learning Center 5K Run Walk. It's on Saturday, September 13th at 9 a.m., beginning and ending at 41 Colebrook Drive. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Item 8A, 2014-21, approving the special event license for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society Upstate New York Chapter's inaugural Bike MS Rock the Ride cycling event.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and again, this event, it runs on Sunday, September 7th. It kicks off at Genesee Valley Park at 8 a.m. and does run through a portion of Arundecoit that day. All those in favor
Can
signify.
I just reprimand you for giving our clerk a tongue twister on the last resolution?
Duly noted. I'm just trying to test you all, make sure you're all still
Well done,
up.
Madam Clerk.
As always.
I practiced that all day.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
And item 8A, 2014-22, authorizing and adopting post-issuance compliance policies and procedures related to the town's tax-exempt obligations, such policies and procedures intended to ensure that the requirements imposed upon the town pursuant to the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended, will be satisfied.
See, that one wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
In a second?
Second.
All right, thanks. And Annie, can you just give a quick description of this one?
Yes, this resolution was recommended by our bond counsel, Harris Beach, and basically it is to establish procedures and to name and appoint the comptroller of the town to serve as the designated tax compliance official under post-issuance compliance procedures. And this is to make us compliant with the IRS ruling and to ensure that we have established procedures and that we follow the procedures. Some of the procedures include establishing procedures, securing closing documents, record keeping for bond follow-up, arbitrage rebate and arbitrage yield restriction, private use of bond financed facilities. So those are the categories that we need to be in compliance with. And I might add that everything that is relevant to the town, we are currently in compliance. Arbitrage rebate and arbitrage yield restriction is something that we are not doing, we haven't done. However, if that situation were to arise, we understand what procedures we would need to follow. So we are totally compliant right now.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. Any questions for Annie? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then that concludes the agenda items on tonight's agenda. I did want to mention at the top of the meeting where I do supervisors' remarks and announcements, there's 3 other public events in addition to the 3 that we listed that we passed resolution for that I want people to be aware of. Coming up this weekend is the Barbecue Blues for Books event, fundraiser for the Irondequoit Public Library. It takes place tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, and again, on the 23rd. Tickets are still available, and it's at Camp Eastman. Tomorrow's from 4 to 11, and then again, Saturday is from 2 to 11. And then in September 5th and 6th is the annual Rochester Irish Festival, again at Camp Eastman. That's on September 5th and 6th. And then also coming up in September on the 12th and 13th, and again the 18th, 19th, and 20th in September is our annual Oktoberfest. And again, that's at Camp Eastman. Information and tickets are available at www.oktoberfestny.com. So I encourage you to please participate in some of these great events happening in town. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Move. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT 12, Irondequoit's government access channel.